bragging, you gotta wait. Ain't no capping, I'm on a date. Money on my mind, it gotta stay. Yeah, I'm on my grind, I can't relate. Chasing dreams, yeah, there's no delay. Why you laughing? No time to play. Showing love, yeah, no need to hate. I'm on time now, I'm never late.
Alright, so it is finally time for the next updated tier list, and I know you guys have been waiting for this for a long time, ever since the update came out, but I needed more time to reevaluate. Obviously, my opinions always change. That's normal. That's the fun thing about tier list in the first place, but it is finally time for probably the last update that we'll have for Demon Slayer, considering we had this balance patch. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started and show you guys the tiers I'm gonna be working with today. Okay, so now as you guys can see, I have a C tier now instead of just having B to S+. So now I had to add C based off of the character changes that the characters received in the last balance patch. So I had to add a C tier. So we're going to first start off with the lowest tier, which is C tier, which is the why use them tier list. This is the why I use them tier. Inosuke is the worst character in the game. I know a lot of people keep saying Inosuke has good guard damage and pretty decent resets, but like his neutral is really lacking, like a lot. Like what's the point of having good guard damage if like push block is in the game, or if like you can't even get in because of the lack of neutral like your skills have. Like these two characters here, Yushiro and Inosuke, they need more of a rework than like buffs, to be honest. And how this game plays, they're just gonna need a lot more fixing. Yushiro did receive some pretty solid buffs, but I feel like it wasn't enough to really change his character in any drastic way for him to be like viable. But he is still more fun to use, and not like you can't really bully him as much as before, but he still can be bullied if you play the patient game like always. Now we move on to the B tier, which is the I need help tier. Like I said, I don't want to go over every single character in this tier list, only the biggest ones that were touched. So yeah, I have Murata, Rengoku, and Sakonji in here. They just need a lot of help. We already know Murata as a point character is not really good at all, even though his assist is really great for damage and combos. At the highest level, you're gonna need some type of switch tech. You're gonna need just a better switch tech character with you. Because just having a good assist will not take you far in the long run if that assist on point isn't as valuable as other characters in the game. So this is why Murata's this low. Rengoku, you guys already know. I was saying he was the worst character in the game, but I was being a little bit harsh, I would say. But he is still a pretty bad character. He has a lot of weaknesses. You can push block, parry, and mash most of his things. His skills is too slow. The only good thing about Rengoku is his dash speed and his damage, which his damage is pretty good but nothing crazy. And obviously you have Sakonji, who I was baffled when people were saying he's the worst character in the game, because he is far from that. Well, not far from it considering he's this low, but you know, Sakonji is still he still has a good tilt skill. He has good recovery on it to at least get in. He's just slow, but he is the tankiest character in the game, and he does a lot of damage when he does hit you. But other than that, he still struggles to get in because of his dash speed, and his light attacks are pretty bad. So this is the I need help tier, and now it's time to move on to the next. Now we move on to the I have good things on paper tier, but I still need a few buffs to be a viable character. And you guys are probably surprised by the order a little bit. Makomo received beautiful buffs, and it makes her more of a consistent character now, because I always had Makomo as she had good neutral, but she lacked the priority and she was inconsistent and dropped, so that's why she was low before. But now she has moved up way higher. She does really solid damage now. Her neutral is still good. They did take away her cancelable water wheel if you complete it on guard, but I don't think that affects her too much. She has the level 3 dash speed. She's a great point character. The only reason why she didn't make it to A+ is because obviously she lacks the priority, and she still kind of doesn't have the pressure to apply on most characters. Awakened Nezuko, she's still the same. Rui's still the same. Now Sabito jumped up, and like I said, he has good thing on paper. He has good light attacks. He has a good dash speed now that he can get in. His tilt skill is also consistent now. You can't dash it anymore, but obviously he still kind of needs help in neutral. His tilt skill is he's kind of more of a wait for you to approach him and then he counters you, but when he tries to open you up, it's kind of hard. But that's why he has the dash speed, but it doesn't help too much. Besides, like I said in the other tier list, switch tech is very valuable at a high level, and he really can't do anything as an assist at all. Like once you switch, you have no assist. It's pretty bad. Makomo is kind of the same thing. She's a character where she's not a switch tech reliant character, but if you're going to be a character like that, you got to have some crazy priority in your neutral, and she just doesn't really have that, and not really a Slayer can really have that to the point where a demon can. But yeah, this is the I have good things on paper tier list, the A tier right now. Now we move on to the I need 1 or 2 more solid buffs to be a tournament viable character tier, the A+ tier. And what I mean by that, like if you haven't seen my other tier list, is if Water Tanjiro had a level 2 dash speed, he'd be pretty viable. If Shinobu didn't take as much damage, she would be pretty more viable. If Ide and Inosuke had a faster dash speed, and etc, etc. So you guys kind of understand why these characters are placed here. Now Shinobu has jumped significantly. I know she got like minor buffs and she does more damage. I was downplaying her before due to her bad matchups, but she still has a pretty solid kit to where she gives a lot of Slayers a hard time in the neutral due to her priority and her dash speed to get in and close in. She still has the same bad matchups, but she does do pretty good damage now due to the buffs she received. So yeah, Shinobu is doing some pretty good damage now. She's still overall the same. Ide Inosuke is the same. Now Yahaba used to be S tier. The reason why he dropped is because now he's not as high in the air anymore, and he has a few nerfs to where he's not as strong, and you could use, like, he still has his same winning matchups. I don't know why people are saying Yahaba is dropped any lower. For some reason, Yahaba is still beating most of the characters in this roster. If you have a level 1 dash speed character, you automatically lost to this character at the highest level. You are not going to be able to close in the gap and, you know, do what you got to do versus this character. So I'm not really sure why people downplay Yahaba when he is still like extremely viable. Of course, dash speed isn't everything, but even if you have a level 2 and a level 3 dash speed, if your skills aren't like pretty good in neutral, you're still not going to be able to approach him. Like for example, Shinobu is a level 3 dash speed, but she still does bad against Yahaba. So Yahaba's there. We have HK still at the same spot. Obviously HK just needs a health increase. He takes too much damage. If he had a health increase, he would be an S tier easily. Gitaro, a beautiful character. He is so close to S tier, but he just lacks a few things that holds him back, such as cancels, and he takes a lot of damage. Unfortunately, for what the lack of neutral, he takes the same amount of damage as Akaza, so it's kind of weird that he's like that, but I can understand why they do it. They kind of doing like a trend with the upper moons. So yeah, Gitaro's right here. He has good setups, good damage, good hitboxes on everything, but he just lacks in cancels and recovery time in some of his skills. That stops him from being S tier. Now we move on to the tournament viable characters, aka the S tier characters. And first I want to shout out to my guy Big Giyu, the legend himself, is now made it to S tier. If you guys noticed, before the balance patch, I had him at the top of A+, because like I said, I felt like he was missing, the only thing he was missing was the level 2 dash speed, and now that he got that, and he has more damage now due to his faster recovery after constant flux in the air, so he can grab after it now, and he can immediately mash after water wheel, which is pretty good for catching people in the air and be able to follow immediately with a light attack so the water wheel won't drop. So Giyu is now S tier. I know people has been like kind of debating on if he's better than Tengen. Me personally, I have him better than Tengen now in terms of what both of them offer to the table, and I could make a whole separate video on that. I don't want to go too in depth with it. Also, I want to touch on Nezuko. For some reason, Nezuko, people seem to forget, like, even though Nezuko got a pretty solid nerfs that she needed, they think she's way worse for some reason. Like, the unsub made her, like, S+, because if you guys noticed, before the balance patch, she was the second best character in the game, in my opinion. Most people had her top 3, but it's because of her toolkit is with the unsub on top of that is why she was S+ in the first place. Now that they nerfed the heal bash, which is a little bit noticeable now, more like you're able to get around it a little bit more now, it's not obnoxious, and now that she take away the unsub, her skill set like is still really good. Like, she still does really good in the Slayer v Slayer and in some of her demon matchups. So yeah, I have made a whole video on her toolkit. I even won an entire tournament using Academy Nezuko, so I couldn't really do the unsub, and I just showed that she is still a very valuable character even without it. So I don't know why people dropped her any lower, but she is still strong. Now we go to Enmu. I want to touch on Enmu. For some weird reason, people putting him in B tier, people putting him in lower tiers. Enmu is still a very strong character. I'm not really sure. These buffs definitely hurt him, because as you can see, I did drop him down, but he is still a very strong character. The only thing the nerfs really did to Enmu was humble him from being in the air all the time. It forces him to use some resources because he was obnoxious in the air, and it forces him to play a more grounded game, which he is very strong on the ground. That's where he was like supposed to be. If you were in the air spamming air lights all day, that is not how you play Enmu. He's still a very strong grounded character, and he still beats 90% of the roster. The only thing that really changed about Enmu is that his worst matchups are now even worse for him already. Like, the matchups that were bad for him are just even worse now because of the nerf. He still is very viable and very strong against the roster that he still dominated before the nerfs. And Blood-Eye Tanjiro and Daki is still the same to me. Daki with very powerful neutral. The only thing she's missing is a dash speed and damage, but her damage don't matter too much because she still heals like a Kaza, and her neutral is so strong that she could just gonna keep hitting you over and over again, and it's gonna add up and you're done. Blood-Eye Tanjiro, still great. He's received a very small buff, but he's still missing a few things, but he's still tournament valuable if you put him with the right assist, of course, based off of his toolkit. But yeah, this is the tournament valuable tier. Hopefully I got everything out about this tier right now. Now it's time to talk about the monsters of the tier list, the tournament winning characters. No doubt the S+ tier, Susumaru, Irizen, and Akaza. And for the most part, when it comes to the competitive scene, when I talk to a lot of the other competitive players, for the most part, the A+ to S+ tier is kind of like the tier where we agree on the most. Now, there's could be characters that can be interchangeable in those said tiers, but for the most part, they're kind of in the same spots. Now, but S+, everybody, no doubt, in the competitive scene has these 3 characters up here. Now, some people might have Akaza as number 2 and Irizen number 3, but everybody right now has Susumaru as the undeniable best character in the game. They gave her a cancelable piercing kick, no longer can punish that. They gave her a few more buffs, nothing too crazy, but the piercing kick was the biggest change because now she can play keep away game. She does a lot of damage, and she can get in she can cancel her piercing kick now, and it was like a risk for her to do that before, but now she could play keep away and get in without taking out any risk. So yeah, she's undeniably the best character in the game. Iri Zenitsu is the team. He's the team. You put any character, any Slayer with Iri Zen, you have a good team. His assist is probably the most free assist in the game. A lot of people like to dash clash with the assist because it's so free, and if you dash someone's guard with Iri Zen, you have enough time to dash their guard 2 times, making their guard red already. So that's free pressure, forcing you to make defensive plays most of the match, being able to be afraid because he's even on the field. Even as a point character, he is still very strong, and the buff they gave him was the level 3 dash speed when he already had a free neutral skill to begin with. It really didn't make any sense for people to give him that. I don't know what they were thinking, but I guess they think the nerf to his damage was probably going to affect him in some way, but it really didn't, because the skill itself is the problem. It's still fast, it can get in, it's free neutral. So nerfing the damage, yes, it did help, but it doesn't change the character that much. So yeah, Edie's in it too. He is just the best Slayer in the game, undeniably, right now. And we have Akaza. Akaza, the only nerf he received was the air type nerf. It is now red, which I think was a beautiful nerf, because Akaza used to get the air types do scale, but he still would get, if you had no sub or no escape, if he hit you with an air type, it was a yellow combo, and he could get 35 to 40%. And it just made him too strong. They did buff his collapse and his plunge, which is very noticeable, especially when it comes to his plunge, but not his collapse. I'm really not sure what the damage is, but Akaza is still very strong. He's still the same character. It's just they nerfed his his getaway tool. But he's still the same. It's just that the other two are just better now. Now, obviously, of course, people can say Akaza's number 2, and that's totally fine. But Susa right now is the best character in the game. So hopefully you guys understand the tier list. I would like to hear your opinions on it as well. But for the most part, a lot of people seem to agree. I talked with a lot of people. But this is the fun part. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is the final tier list probably that I'll ever make, unless they add season 3 into this game. But yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in another video.
Not so long ago, there ain't nothing left. And your feelings now seeming so upset. Looking back now, wish we never met. In the mirror now, keep myself in check. Cause every time that I guess, living with the pain always stabbing my chest.